All right, hello everyone. Thank you for being here today for the panel Leading Through Transformation, Balancing Innovation, Impact, and Team Empowerment. I'm Chitra Madhvacharyula. I'm the Director of Worldwide Customer and Partner Success Operations at NVIDIA, where my main focus area is to lead success at scale by leveraging transformation and leveraging the latest technologies. I have worked at companies like HPE, LinkedIn, and multiple startups in my past life, and really excited to have this discussion with industry experts from ServiceNow and Planet on hopefully some topics that are very relevant to us today, considering the environment that we are in, and also the disruptive transformation that Gen AI is bringing to all walks of life. But before I actually asked the panelists to introduce themselves, I wanted to start with one of my favorite transformational quotes by Peter Drucker, and that is, the best way to predict the future is to create it. And that's something that I strongly believe in, because transformational leadership isn't just about change. It is driving change or reacting to it. It's about shaping it. And so we are fortunate today to have Mike and Tracy with us. And I'll let them give their own intros. And when you do that, it'll be awesome if you can also share your favorite transformation quotes. Let's give them a big round of applause and welcome them to today's session. Thank you for being here. And while we are at it, actually, I think we're also going to share some really cool tools that we use to prepare for this podcast. And I'll hand it over to Mike.
So we met as a group and just kind of brainstormed on topics for the panel and created a notes doc. And then yesterday, we just loaded it into Google Notebook, created a podcast from it, and then I was able to listen to it, or I guess Chitra and I were able to listen to it both while driving down here, and just the hosts are talking about it. So I'll just give you just a quick preview of it, if it works.
Okay, so welcome to the deep dive. Today we are going to be really digging into this super interesting session from the Stanford Me2We 2025 panel. And the discussion specifically is called Leading Through Transformation, Balancing Innovation, Impact, and Team Empowerment. And we've got a ton of great material to go through here.
We do.
This is the Cliff Notes version of the panel.
Yes, Notebook LM, yeah. I know probably you guys have used it, but I always try and come up with new use cases for it every day, and this is handy.
Yeah, we could have probably just run it and
yeah,
done the entire session.
Hit play and just leave.
And
now.
by the way, although that voice sounds like Mike, it's not Mike, it's Gen AI. But yeah, great. And do you want to tell us a little bit about your company? And
Sure, yeah. So I work for a company called Planet, and I would say it's a very non-traditional tech company in that we have a swarm of 200 satellites that orbit the Earth. It's the largest Earth observation fleet in the world. The key difference here is it scans the entire Earth every day, and then we run AI on top of that to do change detection. So, for example, in Brazil, we can detect deforestation in the Amazon within a day, send an alert to the local authorities. They take action, they drop in, they blow up the equipment, confiscate the lumber and things like that. And so through things like that, and on the defense sides, we're making a real difference. We helped the government decrease illegal deforestation in the Amazon by 40% last year, actually, which is this huge difference. And so now we just have to figure out how to do that faster. So.
yeah, and if you follow the launches of our different rockets, you may find him in the videos and pictures at Kennedy Space Center. But yeah, really, really cool company, and I'm definitely very envious and also very impressed.
Yeah, thanks. So my quote is it's from Gandhi, actually, which is "Be the change you want to see." And I see change and transformation as a wave, right? And I always tell this with my team. I go, look, you could watch the wave and stand there and let it slap you in the face and knock you down. You can try and go under the wave, and then you end up in this no man's land where it's just kind of passed you by. Or you can be the wave, right? Like, be the change, right? Like, we're all part of the change, and it's a constant thing. It's a good thing for us. So that's just my quote.
Thank you. And Tracy.
Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. I'm Tracy Laird. I currently work for ServiceNow and lead the global customer success organization, transitioning into a new role that'll be announced soon for AI and product at ServiceNow. So really delighted to be here. ServiceNow, for those of you that aren't familiar with ServiceNow, we are the business transformation platform for AI. We have AI capabilities for every corner of the enterprise, and foundational aspects, the three foundational aspects of the platform are centered around agentic AI capabilities, data, and workflows. So for those of you who have used ServiceNow at any of your companies, you've probably seen some of these experiences real time. We are an industry leader in this space, and some of what we're going to talk about today is tied to the transformation work we're doing for now capabilities, so what we're using at ServiceNow in our own technology. So in my past, I've worked in enterprise software for over 25 years for the likes of PeopleSoft, Veritas, Symantec, GE Digital, and ServiceNow for 7 years.
Awesome. And yeah, as you're going through your own transformational journey, I think it would be really, really interesting to get your insights on how you plan to go about it. But before we start, I wanted to mention that we also had another panelist, actually the president at Lean, one of the most exciting Gen AI companies. But unfortunately, she had a personal emergency yesterday evening and couldn't make it and sends her apologies. So you're not seeing double. There's an extra person on the slide. So with that, I would like to just give you run through a few housekeeping items. So we have 3 different themes that we will be walking through as part of this panel. We will start with a discussion on how to drive large-scale transformations at different companies. And I think we have some of the best people here who've done that from the front lines and would really be able to share their stories, learnings, and also major takeaways from going through those processes. And then we'll segue into how to leverage technology to drive impact. And last, but certainly not the least, talk about how do you put your team at the center of innovation. And again, I think that's a very, very relevant topic, and I'm really looking forward to learning a few things myself as part of that discussion with regards to, in this Gen AI world, in this highly disruptive environment that we are living through, how do you steer your team so that they stay motivated and we all move towards the same North Star. So with that, I'd love to kick it off. And Tracy, I'd like to direct my first question to you and learn about a major transformation that you've led or you're leading and how to go about it, and if you have any stories you'd like to share on that.
Sure. One of the things I forgot to share was what's been key to the transformation work we've been doing at ServiceNow is around being curious. As a leader, it's really important to be curious. And curiosity and asking questions gets you further than confidence in answers, right? So when we think about embarking on these journeys, any one of us as leaders in various companies, it's one key thing that I lean into with my teams, and I learned a lot about when over the years and when I first joined ServiceNow 7 years ago. So that being said, I just want to share that the size team and transformation that I've personally been involved with was for 1,000 people that are customer-facing individuals at ServiceNow. And when we looked at what we needed to do to improve that experience, it's the entire experience, everything that is front stage to customers, everything that is backstage in terms of our employees and how we work. So we were looking at overall efficiency gain. We were looking at what could we do to really keep running the business, because the business that I am currently part of is over a $500 million business and is protecting over $5.5 billion in CACV for the company. So we focused very much on the people. So we looked at, okay, for our people and our people pact, what do we need to make sure that we're doing so that they can remain successful in continuing to help our customers and partners with our platform and our solutions. That being said, we had to center our time and energy on very critical path training and enablement that they needed to be successful first in this transformation. So AI first, we had to train over 2,000 people in 1 year on the different aspects of what they need to know to be successful with our customers and partners. We also focused our energy on the end-to-end experience. So we dug deep into understanding customer first follow me homes. So we called them follow me homes, even though we weren't necessarily always going to the customer site. We met with customers, we met with partners, we met employees, and we looked at what was working, what we were learning, what we needed to improve. We looked at how we were going to continue to deliver value, and then operational excellence.
Awesome, thank you. And Mike, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, so Planet, I think it was 3 years ago we went public, and at the time when we made the decision to go public, it was an absolutely terrifying and exciting experience because I knew fundamentally that we were a startup at heart. You know, we had done some amazing things. Yeah, we launched things in space and things like that, but can we do the accounting side? Can we do all the other basic stuff? And we were pretty desperate for a playbook, and what we ended up locking in on was the practices of the table group, which is like the Advantage, if you've ever read the Advantage. And that's really all about team cohesion, prioritization, and alignment. And so we really went back to basics. In fact, we called it Project Butterknife. Like, not cutting edge, like we always want to be cutting edge. It's so sexy and interesting, but like clarity beats sexy every day, right? And so we just went down and said, okay, what are the 3 most important things right now? What is our strategy to win? And then endless repeating of that. Like, these are the 3 things. These are the 3 things that we must do, right? And there was a clear line of sight. We went public, I think after announcing it was like 8 months actually. So it was pretty rapid and successful. And then we've had a few speed bumps since then, but like, yeah, the business has been growing quite well. And that drumbeat though of what's most important now, we do that every 6 months. We refresh that. We refresh our vision of where we're going and then how we win. And then it's that drumbeat and that march. And so that's really how we got through that.
Awesome. And you know, the best stories are when things don't work well. So they make the best movies and the best novels. And I was just curious in terms of if you feel comfortable sharing some learnings with regards to when you tried to do something and it didn't go as you expected, and how you managed to pivot from that situation.
Yeah, actually, the precursor to this Project Butterknife was something called Delta V, which is, well, it's a physics term of like how you get to orbit. And we picked 10 things, 10 dramatic things that we could do to better the customer experience and make it easier to work at Planet. And sent all these tiger teams, each one had a tiger team, they all went and scrambled to do it. And like, I think one of those things got done, right? 10 things with all these tiger teams and all these people running around and things like that, and they didn't get done. Why? If we bit off way too much, we didn't create the space for people to actually like do those things. We didn't deprioritize anything. We just prioritized those things on top of everything else, and it didn't work. And so that's how we got to Project Butterknife.
Yeah, and Tracy, would you like to add anything to that?
Sure, I could not agree more with you around prioritization. So I would tell you that the before looked like about 46 different siloed, well-intended, heroic efforts to make things happen. down to about 10, and we kept iterating, right? So I think it's just important to, exactly what you said, look at what you're going to prioritize to focus on, the 3 to 5, not beyond that are going to be executed flawlessly.
Awesome. And before I ask you my next question, I wanted to add that we have somebody here who can help take audience questions. So if you have any questions that you'd like to ask, we have the gentleman at the back. Oh, no. If you have a question, yeah, that's fine. Yeah. No, we have somebody there. So either way.
Well, I'm myself a volunteer too, so I thought let me step
all
up.
help is appreciated.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for that.
I came in late, but fair enough, I was still able to hear some part of the conversation. So firstly, thank you. I think great panel, and I'm Kaivalya Gundu. I think my question would just be adding on to what you spoke about failures, right? Yes, we all agree like failures are the stepping stones to success, but in the current changing market, like how are you looking at these failures? Are you looking at more time-boxed experiments in your respective roles? Or are you still feeling it's okay as, in your respective roles, leading big teams, you can give good amount of time to test something out? Or is it like the time boxing itself is shrinking, like everything needs to be done much quicker to experiment and fail fast and then get to the next step?
Want to go first?
Yeah, so our culture is one of fail fast. So like we launch about 30 satellites at a time. Of those, 2 of those are experimental, always. Sometimes they don't work, and sometimes they're not ready, and sometimes we update them and brick them in the sky and things like that. And that's how we do things at Planet. And we've adopted, on my team, we have a very similar thing. I will carve out areas where we can fail. People know what they are accountable for and what they're measured on, right? Those are like set in stone. But these other areas where we do carve out, and we do deprioritize and carve out time, it works or it doesn't. Like, that's okay. And so many of these have failed, but as long as we're not investing so much time and as long as we're just learning from it, that's awesome, actually. I'm totally on board with it, because you just get so much more ideas and innovation than you would if you have a risk-averse culture, right?
Yeah, so I'd be happy to share as well. So within our company, in the services and the products areas that I've worked in, we absolutely give space for testing and trying things, what's minimally viable for a customer or an internal team to be successful. We may test it with 5 to 10 customers and then iterate and decide if we are going to keep progressing forward or stop doing.
Absolutely.
I think one of the pitfalls around failure, though, is around budget, for example. Like, put your money where your mouth is. Like, you better set some budget for that and be okay with it not always working out. It's not huge, but just something. Like, for us, it's like $200 for somebody to experiment with deep research or something like that is like, it's just totally worth it. I don't have to get approval. I just do it for them.
Yeah, and I think setting the right expectations based on my experience, and I've worked at multiple companies, I've worked at startups, where the culture is, get quick and scrappy, solve the customer problem, everything else comes later. And I worked for medium-sized companies to big companies within very small organizations that are new to that company. So one of the big transformational changes is that how do you educate people about the work that your team does, right? That's extremely important. So how do you create that footprint? How do you show impact? The size of the company really doesn't matter. It's similar problems that you run into. The challenges may be bigger, actually, the bigger the company is. But you need to have a transformation strategy. And the step 1 for that is to be really, really clear about the value that you and your team bring to the company, and rinse and repeat that as and when needed. It would require a lot of repetition for it to really sink in. And then follow that up by actually proving value, by creating MVPs, by not trying to boil the ocean, and having a data-driven approach, I think, is extremely important. It has served me really, really well in the companies that I work for, where it's not really my opinion on what impact we are making, it's the data. The data tells the story. So I think that is very important. Oh, you have a question? I can give you my mic.
Yeah, I'm curious about the customer experience. Like, I work at Google in customer solutions, and in the end, everyone there wants to make a difference. And what happens is that some people are working in the same project because we're like a global company, everyone has the same priority. But then many people end up working in the same and duplicating efforts. So how do you manage the communication through the transformation strategy?
Great question.
I can share an example, what I was personally involved in helping lead at ServiceNow when I was running the core product line. So for the first 5 years, that's where the space I was in. And we were looking at what do we need to help grow our second tier business we were launching into virtual agents. And so we wanted to make sure that, of course, this is a company goal. It's on the company strategy. And what we did was we pulled the cross-functional teams together. We built a communication plan around the what, the how, the why, and had all the VP stakeholders at that time included in the kickoff conversation around what we were all trying to collectively solve for, and met on a bi-weekly basis, reported out on a quarterly basis or a bi-monthly basis. We started in the beginning with more communications than less, and then we trickled that back in time once everybody was aware of the what, the how, the why, and what we were going to do and accomplish by the end of year one of that effort.
Yeah, but great question. You know, I've seen this challenge live in multiple companies where when a company grows very, very quickly, right? And they're used to doing things a certain way, and that doesn't work when they scale. So you know, as you become more process-driven, as you try to operationalize some of your key priority areas, you run into resistance, and especially if it's a matrixed organization and there's duplication of work, and it takes time, it takes patience, and it's not easy. So, you know, if you're going through something like that, be kind to yourself and know that, you know, it's just part of growing up, essentially, for that company. And I know you had a question. If you don't mind, when you ask a question, please introduce yourself and then ask.
Sure. Hey, thanks a lot for this. Learning a lot. My name is Ramya. I had some questions, especially when you're working on an innovative project. The biggest challenge is time, and also being able to bring that sense of urgency and making a call, when to push and when to kind of give that space for the innovation. So I would like to hear some insights into how you handle such situations, because in larger companies where you have customers whom you have to satisfy and at the same time have innovation running, it becomes a challenge how you balance between the two in the team. So I would like to hear something there. Thanks.
Do you want to take it, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, in my experience, like we have innovation teams, and they're amazing, but it only really works, in my opinion, it's most efficient and it only really works if you give a specific kind of customer use case or a persona, right, that they're really aiming for, and some sort of deadline. Usually it's sooner rather than later to get some sort of MVP out there. Like these big, long projects, I mean, yeah, sometimes they yield, but again, fail fast is the key. The MVP can prove it out as long as they're designing for a customer persona. You got a customer advisory group or something like that that can be a part of that. That's just my experience.
Yeah, we follow the same model. We have partner advisory board, we have customer advisory board. We also have in the success world, in customer success space, we have an employee experience team, basically, that is focused solely on gathering insights for the employees as well. So we follow along the same lines of really understanding those personas to determine what should be a part of that Center of Excellence and Innovation roadmap. And there's going to be, the volume can be extreme. I completely understand that. I've seen so much volume come in and asks come in. It's all about prioritizing those hotspots and the data-driven decision-making around that you mentioned earlier is key, because it can be backed by voice of customer, partner, employee, but the data tells the better story.
Yeah, I think fail fast and quick wins is really helpful because, I mean, you have to be willing to experiment and innovate, but to keep the team morale, right, and to show impact, quick wins help. So if you're able to balance both of them, I think it helps steer the company and the team in the right direction. With that, I know you have a question there. If you can just hold on to it. I'd like to move to our next theme of leveraging technology to drive impact, right? And the first question that I have is, how do you evaluate which technologies are worth investing in? And what are some of the common pitfalls that you've seen leaders run into, either yourself or other leaders, when they're going through the process of picking and evaluating the best technologies to drive your transformational strategy? You can take it.
I've got a philosophy, and it's mostly about AI now, but really AI is just kind of a subset of broader technology tools. So one thing that we look at, it's 3 key points when evaluating a new piece of technology is, one, does it allow us to get instant insights from massive amounts of data, right? We have tons of data, right? We talked about all the Amazon every day, right? Like, how do you pull out insights from that and make that data valuable? Data you already have, make it valuable. The second thing is, how do you, and I stole this from a book called Co-Intelligence, which is really great, about AI, but how do I eliminate soulless or soul-crushing work from our team and from our customers? Like things that just drains your energy, drains our customer energy. How do you eliminate that? Right? And third is, does this technology allow me to speed the cycle of iteration, innovation? So that can be communication, knowledge sharing, finding, or the ability to prototype things rapidly, get that data, and then iterate faster. So if you can put yourself in that innovation cycle. One common pitfall that I see all the time is senior leaders making the recommendations, brainstorming and coming up, okay, I want this tool, and this tool, versus coming from the grassroots, right? Grassroots, they know the problems that need to be solved, right? They're not in this to, like, you can buy tools to be showcased and to join these communities and things like that. That's the wrong way to go, right? Come grassroots, and then you also get the buy-in, right? You're kind of co-opting them into the process.
Absolutely. Do you have anything to add to that?
Sure. So could not agree more with the need, that getting to that desired state around assessing the technology in the right way. So the people, the process, the technology is one thing, but this really has to be centered and backed by customer experience insights. So we look at things from a qualitative standpoint, quantitative, for customers first, and employee experiences, and then determined what, like you said, removing those mundane tasks. Are you gonna get to 30% efficiency gain? Are you gonna get to 40% efficiency gain? Mm-hmm. There's a human side of that experience and a digital side of that experience. Making sure that that's exceptional from both angles. So that's one of the things we absolutely look at in ensuring that we can communicate out the benefits and value associated with what we're selecting to do.
Awesome. And you had a question?
Yes, well, very much in line with what we just said here. So I'm Julian, and I currently lead a business operations team at a biotech. And my team is in charge of launching transformation initiatives, whether it is to increase the growth, support the growth, or actually achieve cost savings. There is a high emphasis on seeking efficiency, productivity, and so on. So my question was specifically around how do you typically measure, quantify the impact that you expect to generate? Because this is always something that I'm being asked. So I was wondering if you have specific tools or if you approach it a certain way.
Sure. So we do a Net Promoter Score. We use Qualtrics. We look at customer sat in general, employee satisfaction. So when we talk about employee, voice of employee, we consider the what and the how we're doing things in the employee voice as well. So those are key metrics. We are also looking at the business side of the metrics in terms of retention and renewal rates for services and things of that nature. And then there was one other thing I wanted to share about metrics, and that is, or how we're measuring, is you've got to decide per the personas that are using what you're creating, whether it be a customer or a partner or an employee, really making sure that voice, the aha moments are shared. So the quotes, the stories are key about the success.
I feel like I'm always sharing some really basic stuff, but it was kind of my theme of the panel. So we do these things called action plans, and that's not just when betting on technology or innovation, but really with any initiative, right? So if we had done that Delta V thing again, we would have had action plans associated with that. An action plan makes one person accountable, right? There can maybe a team, but one person is accountable, right? They describe, what are we doing? What resources we need? How would we measure if we were successful, and what would success look like, right? And then they are accountable for that, right? That doesn't mean we can't fail, right? But by putting one person and say, okay, you're gonna be accountable for this, please, consult everybody and get the data, but you're putting your name on this and you're proposing to get these resources, then we do postmortems afterwards. But that single point of accountability definitely drives good, or I would say more realistic measurements of success versus when it's shared, when you got a group of people or a whole team that's accountable. People tend to overestimate the ROI.
We call them PICs at NVIDIA, pilot in charge.
There you go.
So what is the side effect of having that singular focus in making one single team or a person responsible for the outcome of the project?
Yes.
Do you want to repeat the question?
Yeah. What's the side effect of making one person responsible? There is a side effect. I mean, first of all, there's the accountability is the positive side effect of that. Some people, though, do feel left out because, look, we got to decide. It is one person. It is never two. And so, but there's a consulted list, and that consulted team is able to feedback, and their opinions are known. The person making the decision, the person making the recommendation, though, knows that goes into the record, and that they'll make it forward. The other side effect, though, is frankly, we do slow down on a lot of things, right? So you slow down to speed up, right? So I'm not working on 10 things at the same time that we can all mature, and that would be really great. I'm doing 3 things, but I'm gonna nail them, right? And then move on to the next 3. So you're going deeper versus wider, and that's not for every company, I would say. Some companies can't go wider. If they're mature and they're ready to go operationally effective already, they can go a little wider.
Awesome. And on the topic of leveraging technology, before we move on to our next segment, I want to end by just giving you an example of how we are leveraging technology in my team. And this is a classic problem that many of you may have faced in go-to-market, where it's really, really hard to have the customer and partner-facing account teams to come back and enter information about what their customers and partners are doing, which essentially creates a problem of lack of business intelligence that can help drive actionable insights, right? So one of the things that we are actually looking at by leveraging technology is we obviously capture a lot of quantitative data, right, through product usage and other metrics, but we also have a lot of qualitative data that comes in through meeting notes and co-pilot summaries and emails and whatnot. And if we have permission to use that data, can we infer business insights by combining both the qualitative and the quantitative data by running them through a Gen AI system? And then, instead of depending on people coming in and manually entering information in Salesforce and other tools, this system can actually push business insights back into those tools. So, it actually becomes a data source for intelligence and to drive actionable insights. So this is, a pilot that we are doing right now, and our goal is, again, to reduce the dependency on manual inputs and to reduce, some of that requirement for repetitive and operational pieces of work that we expect our teams to do so that they can actually focus on the more strategic aspect of things. So just wanted to give you an example.
I couldn't agree more, and that's been something we're super focused on. The way I look at that, just to kind of add on to what you're saying, is you are generating data every day, right? Product usage data, there's commercial data, through your CRM system and things like that. There's customer feedback, direct feedback and things like that. But your interactions with your customers, calls, emails, Slacks, all that stuff, that's a massive amount of data.
Exactly.
And plugging that leak and capturing as much as you possibly can within reason and laws and things like that, obviously, over time, that is going to fuel the engine that will be your agentic AI or your business application. That is it's absolute gold. So stockpile that when you can, even if you don't use it right away.
Absolutely. And the clock is ticking. So I want to get to the next segment that we have, which is...
One question.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
So this question is around the product S-curve. So the question is, when is the end to transformation in the context of product S-curve, especially in the product S-curve chasm gap, until you catch up that, or you continue with the transformation with multiple S-curves?
I mean, I can give my perspective. I think it really depends on the impact, right?
Right.
It really depends on what is the impact of that gap. Do you have a minimum viable product?
Right.
And that's, I think, is always, as a best practice, at least that's where I start. What is the minimum we need from a product perspective to move the needle for the intended audience, whether they're customers or partners. And if we have that, then I would run with it, and then based on feedback and based on our own roadmaps, augment it and have that go in parallel. So I don't know if you have any.
I would just say products are never finished, but you definitely have to get it to good enough where you don't have tech debt, massive amounts of tech debt, because over time that just will slow your innovation to an absolute stop.
Yep. As our CEO says, as Jensen says, as much as needed, as little as possible.
Trust in Jensen.
Thank you.
So yeah, I'd love to. I know we are almost out of time, so wanted to touch on the human factor of transformation, right? The human element, and that's extremely important. How do we take our teams along on that transformative journey? What are some of the do's and don'ts? Would love to get hear your stories around that.
Sure. So, one of the most important things I think is transparency. And staying curious with your teams as you go through this transformation at any given point in your career is transparency, communication, making sure that the teams, the leaders, understand the company strategy, how you walk and connect to the company strategy, the vision, mission of your team, the objectives, the key results, and making sure that the team is part of contributing to that and building that and reporting out on it, because every individual has a role to play, and you want to make sure that those individuals are recognized and rewarded for the great work they're doing. So I think employee recognition, different employees like to be recognized publicly, others like to be recognized in more subtle ways, but I think that's a really critical piece as part of the building an empowered team, creating recognition, resilience, transparency is key.
Yeah, I 100% agree with all of those things, Tracy. And I would just add on just a couple more things in terms of the company strategy. This CRO, the Chief Repeating Officer thing, is so important as it cascades down through the company. In transformation, so when you're in a stable time, the company mission doesn't change, the priorities don't change that much. It's a lot easier to do. But when you're moving really fast and things are changing, people really, really need to be clear on what's most important now. And then within that, the team mission. So we have something called team charters that we do, which is like, why does this team exist? How does this team win, right? What is this team accountable for, and what doesn't this team do? And like by updating those, we have well, it's just in one big spreadsheet actually, which is really funny, but wish we could get fancier than that. But look, you can go anytime and understand what my team is accountable for right now, what our strategy is and how I fit in. And then similarly on job descriptions, like almost every company I've ever been in, the job descriptions are like the same ones that are published like to the website, you know, to promote the job, right? But like we created these new role cards that are just really, really internal focused and very clear. What are my core daily tasks? What am I accountable for? How am I measured? What don't I do? And why do I exist? It's the same thing as team charter, but at the individual level. And by updating those in frame of the new strategy and the transformation strategy, you can see where people fit into this process and how we're aligned all the way up and down the chain. So some people use OKRs for that. We use really priorities combined with these charters.
So with my next question, I'm actually going to put you people on the spot. I apologize. So we live in the Gen AI world, right? I mean, OpenAI recently released their agents to help augment the workforce. Like agents who can essentially replace employees to do specific tasks. And I think there's a real fear in the world today with regards to where we are going with Gen AI. There's obviously a lot of good stuff that's happening, but there could be potential impact on the workforce. And I'm curious, in your leadership roles, have you run across those concerns? Have you been asked those questions? And how do you respond?
So I can share related to our customer success organization. Part of what helped in this scenario was that we spent literally hundreds of hours talking with our customer success personas. And they told us point blank, here's what we need to be more successful. These are the tasks that I don't want to have to search on my own personal knowledge base. I want to basically go into the customer success product and do X, Y, Z. Right? That is, when the people tell you exactly the teams that you're working with inside your company, what they need to be successful with customers, they're usually pretty clear on their experience and what they can do better longer term. So they were part of how we brought them along in the journey was spending the time to talk with them and really seeking to understand what is it that we can do with our technology to make your job and what you do every day with customers easier, and spending on better time spent on higher value face-to-face time with customers. So we absolutely had the fear, uncertainty, doubt conversations, but we brought people along and actually took the time to do that. And it wasn't, I won't tell you it was really a super fast exercise, right? We spent a lot of time.
I think getting in the boat or bringing them along is so important, and being transparent. Like, look, it is going to affect the workforce. We all know that. We're all anxious about it, right? Like, I tell them I'm anxious too. Like, let's just be the wave here, right? We need to be the wave. And so what we did, real simple, but we did a crowdsourced AI contest with the team to help around the 3 principles I mentioned earlier, right? And gave them a budget and gave them little prizes like sweatshirts and things like that. And it really brought them along. It took them from being on, okay, like what am I gonna be subjected to how can I solve my own problems? And I'm being empowered to do that. And actually we had remarkable innovation that came out of that. And everybody both learned a lot, but also we saved time actually. And so it's gonna help them have like a better day-to-day, like be their best selves.
And how about when you work with, customers and partners? Both of you are part of the go-to-market teams, right? So do you sense change in the dialogue and the discussions there in the current ecosystem, the Gen AI ecosystem that we are living in?
Yeah, I mean, basically our whole offering to customers is completely changed, right? Like it went from being, okay, like here's like the data and you go hire a team and like build this thing around it, or like here's an image of a tank or something like that, to okay, here are insights. And so once the customers understand that, they're a little apprehensive because it's a pretty dramatic change on their side. But once they see it in action, and I show them the Brazil stuff all the time, I show them some things we're doing in India and in Ukraine, and they are like desperate for it. Like once they see the results, right, and they're right in front of you, and you see there's hundreds of thousands of people using it versus like 5 people that are experts, that's been a just game changer. They're really demanding it.
I think the FOMO is real.
Yeah. Oh yeah, FOMO is a great way to get them to move fast.
Tracy, would you like to add anything to that?
This is along the same lines, but our go-to-market teams, our sellers, our customer success organization are phenomenal at sharing real-life stories around what other customers have been doing, our early adopters have been doing with AI capabilities. And so they are eager and hungry to see all the possibilities on the platform across different workflows, whether it be IT, whether it be finance, whether it be HR, whether it be customer service. It's the eye-opening when they see it.
Yeah. Awesome. Any questions? All right.
You mentioned earlier that you have a customer success board, and I'm curious to know how you pick those customers. Do you pick the ones that things go well for? How do you understand also the failures from the customers?
Yeah, so we, in ServiceNow, we have customer advisory boards at different levels and product advisory boards. So different size and types and industries for those customers and strategic partners. And we really seek to understand what's working, what do we need to learn, what needs to improve for every single one of those. So as an example, in customer success, we have an advisory board that was really centered on the experience, the digital experience, and the human side of the experience. And we saw the good, the bad, the ugly. We saw all of it. We don't want to just center our time on the customers where everything's working great. So we definitely at ServiceNow spend a lot of time in different types of, with different types of advisory boards. The process to pick the customers is we look at if they're small, medium business, enterprise, very large enterprise, and we look at, we make sure we have a balance across industries so that they can learn from each other as well.
What's like the communication?
We have virtual events and we have in-person events a couple of times a year, and we try to center those events. We have them around the globe, and we usually try to meet in person at some of our big, like our customer conference, our big one. We have regional events as well. Depending on the venues, we sometimes attach to those. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we have a question there. Please come.
Fumiya here. You talked about the virtual events and in-person events. I just want to understand how effectively those two forms of the events you see recently? Because my understanding is that there's a lot of AI based how to say tools for the virtual events that will effectively increase your how to say pitching efficiency to the clients. And my understanding is that maybe going forward, the in-person pitching event will be how to say for those top sales, not really for the customer success. Maybe the customer success will be more centralized into the how to say virtual events. What's your take on that?
Okay, so I just want to repeat the question back. So you're asking about the difference between who participates in the events, the customer success team or the sales team?
Both.
Both, okay.
Yeah.
So at ServiceNow, we have a huge following of customers and partners, and they love our events. And so we host, our biggest one is our annual conference, and then we have regional roadshows we do. Sellers and service, so we have our commercial sellers. Many of our sales team goes to those events and attends those events. Other parts of our go-to-market team as well, including certain people. Of course, we have a budget, and there's a certain number of customer success people that are allowed to go based on customers that are attending. So we don't send everyone. We can't, because people are customer facing day in and day out. But we do select a handful of people that get to go.
Yeah, understand.
And I think,
Yeah. Does that help?
You also touched on like, are virtual events effective versus in person too? And I think, yes, virtual events have a job to play, right? And it's a frequency thing, and especially if you've met in person, like a customer advisory board, you've met in person 6 months later, you do a virtual event, still very effective because people know each other and things like that. But I really actually, we had a virtual roadmap event this morning. It wasn't very engaging. It was helpful information, right? We really skew though towards making an imprint for our most important customers and partners in person. Investing in that creates such a significant impression and an emotional resonance there that it leads to like a lasting impact actually. So like we think they're absolutely critical and essential.
Yeah, and I think we are not only getting to an era of virtual events, but virtual participants through avatars and
That's right. You don't need to attend anymore.
Yeah. So we are almost out of time. So last question. Go ahead.
Hi. Thanks for taking the time today with us. One question which I had was with regards to Gen AI usage. With increasing Gen AI usage, for instance, with hiring, there may be some false positive candidates that may come into the system.
Hallucinations is a real problem.
Yeah, so how do you, is there any regulation that you advise for organizations to enforce, or how do we train our employees to recognize these false positives early on?
I think one very important thing is to understand that Gen AI is not the be-all and end-all, right? You still there, like I said, hallucinations, at least not yet. So hallucinations is a real problem, and you have to validate what it spits out and make sure that it's accurate and it aligns with what you're looking for. It can be an awesome assistant. I think to use it as an awesome assistant tool is something that a lot of companies are doing today, and it can help you, do some of the more mundane tasks that it's not really a great use of time for your team to spend on, but there definitely needs to be oversight. There need to be guardrails to make sure that it is doing the job that it is expected to do. So just leave hiring to it and ask it to make a decision. At least at this point where we are in the Gen AI journey is probably mature.
It's funny, we were talking about college applications and people using AI for college applications right just out here. And I'm hiring a lot right now, and frankly, like if somebody wasn't using Gen AI, I'd be disappointed. Like, they should be using Gen AI as part of their application, and if they're able to get the output using Gen AI, like, great, even better. Honestly, even better. Like, you obviously like have some tests, like a case study presentation where it's very interactive and things like that, and it's very difficult to use AI to see how they can socialize and work as a team. That's important. But I want my candidates to all be using Gen AI to get the advantage.
Yeah, I use Gen AI to generate questions for this panel, so saved me a lot of work, I'll be honest.
Thank you very much.
All right, I think we are almost out of 3 minutes. Okay, so 30 seconds question and 30 seconds answer,
Okay,
please.
I'll not introduce myself. So the one question that I have is, when companies scaling up, right, during that process, they may end up in creating silos, right? And those silos will introduce friction when it comes to the transformation. So in your experience, I mean, anything that you can share solving those challenges, right, that introduce through the silos?
Quick answer, please.
Seen it happen many times. I'll use a real example. So really quick, on the go-to-market side of the house, right, you can imagine how with a company the size of ServiceNow, 10 billion and growing, we have, as I mentioned earlier, tons of heroic efforts. Efforts from sales to meet every customer need, customer success. And what ended up happening long ago was many different people, many different times, meeting with the same customer over and over again, right? Because everyone's trying to make stuff happen. So one simple thing we did was we brought the business review process together because many different people were having business review conversations, you've probably seen this, with customers, to make sure that this was a unified business review in the best interest of the customer. So that's just one example.
Yeah, and by the way, I mean, we've used Gen AI to create and deliver, not only create, but also deliver business reviews. If you haven't tried it, you should explore that.
I want to try that. So, like, to your point, we've been using conversational intelligence also to, well, you eliminate silos by everybody having those customer insights and that customer interaction, right? So it's great to bring people on site. We bring our space systems people to customers, and they're like, oh, I know exactly, and then the problems are fixed like that. It's amazing. But leveraging Gen AI, like, so Gong is what we use, it'll alert you, for example, if somebody mentions a specific product or feature or any kind of feedback, it'll send that to the product Slack channel for that team, or the engineering Slack channel for that team, actually. So it's just this constant heartbeat of customer feedback, real world insights, feedback, and things like that. And that really helps eliminate those silos.
Awesome. I think we are out of time. So thank you, everyone, for coming here and for the great questions.
Thank you.
Hopefully you got a lot out of it. I know I did. And thank you so much, Mike and Tracy, for being here today.
Thanks, Chitra.
Thank you. Thanks
Thank
all.
you.